Hi, team. Thank you so much for taking a quick minute or two to be able to walk through how we can start creating reports that capture both the assigned to individuals and the additional assignee. Now, most people, of course, will want to use this to be able to track their own record so that they can be able to manage their work on a day to day basis a lot easier than what they've been doing before. As you can see, we have an example here on Wendy's page of what this report will look like for you. You have different breakouts of the tasks that you may be associated to. Again, whether you're the additional assignee or the assigned to individual, the private task, the incident, whatever it is that has a record to your name in ServiceNow, you'll be able to see it from this report. So how do we get here? First thing we're going to do over in our left navigation is type in report, and we'll be given a drop down of all of the different things that we can do within that space. In this case, we're going to go ahead and click on create new. And once we do that, it's going to walk us into a module that allows us to go ahead and call out the parameters and the queries that we may want to run to be able to pull the data that we need. I'm going to, just so you guys can see this a lot easier, collapse this navigator, and we'll go ahead and begin creating the report. In this case, let's say I want to look at all of the tasks associated to Jonathan, regardless of how he is assigned to it. Type in our title here, get our spelling right. All right, so we have our title, and we know now that everything that's associated in ServiceNow falls under that task table. So we're going to leave this here. We're going to hit list or whichever type of report that we may want to see it as, whether it be a bar chart, a list, or however it is, you have these options available to you here. And then what's going to be really important, and I'll show this at the end, is how we're going to do a grouping based on the different types of tasks that are out there. Now, before I go any longer, one thing that you may be noticing is that my screen here looks a little bit different than yours. And that's because you may be leveraging the new UI that ServiceNow rolled out for reporting. That's okay. If you don't like it, if you go over in your right corner, you can click a button that has switch to new UI or switch to old UI. You click on that. The old UI is what you see here on my screen. If you want to go to the newer version, then of course you can click on that button to do so. Anyway, let's go ahead and start building on our queries that allow for the reports to come about. So we're going to go to add filter, and the first thing we care about is everything that is assigned to me. So we have our assigned to field called out. We have our operator, and in this case, we want to keep it dynamic because we know that whatever it is, if it's assigned to me, pull it into this list. Now, we also care about an additional assignee list. So we can say if it's assigned to me, or if I am the additional assignee person in that list, then go ahead and include me in that as well. So I type out my name, and I go ahead and select it. And now I can hit run just to make sure that I'm getting an idea of the right type of data that I need. Now, in this case, you see that I'm logged in as Wendy, so you start to see her name show up as Wendy Hicks. But here is where you also see Jonathan. And that's because not only in this case am I the assigned to person, I'm also in the additional assignee list. So it shows up for me there. As you'll see as you go through, all of those same type of records that you're associated to will come about, whether they're open or closed. So how do we resolve that? We're going to come back up to our query, and we're going to hit the and button because, again, assigned to, additional assignee, whichever one it is, we want to pull it into our list. But it's also important that we include the things or take away the items that may not be active anymore. So in that case, we click on our field, we select the active, and is true. Defaults to it. Go ahead and select that if you need to, and hit run. We'll notice that our list becomes a lot smaller now. So we already have our data pulled in that speaks to everything that we are the assigned to individual and the additional assignee user for. This doesn't, though, make a lot of sense because it's kind of everywhere. You got some incidents here, mainly incidents, but we know we also have some project tasks associated to it. So let's group it by the actual task type that may be presented on this list. We come back up to that field that we mentioned earlier, group by, hit that drop down. We type in task type that we want to group by. We go back over to run, and now we have a more consolidated view of all of the different types of tasks that may be associated to our name. Still following the same query, giving us that same data, but in a much cleaner format. One final thing that I want to show you, and it's a little bit advanced, you may or may not care about it, is that you have your different columns that are calling out, obviously, data associated to the record. Let's say we wanted to change that. Maybe we don't want subcategory because we aren't really using that in our tickets. If I wanted to, I could come up to our selected field, highlight it, hit our arrow, or I could double click it and it'll go back over to the available. Let's say, though, we also want to be able to find out the priority of certain things. We have incidents in our list, so we want to be able to track the priority for those. I can scroll up into all of the available fields that are there on the form. We get to priority. Again, you can double click it or you can hit your arrow to bring it over. We call it over into our selected list. We hit run once more. And now for all of our incidents, we can see all of the priorities that are associated to it. All right, so the report itself looks really good. We go ahead and save it. We know that in our case, we'll be the only individual that has access to it, so nobody can mess up the data that we're receiving. And so we can head back over now to our home page if we want to place it there. Now, if you do not want to place it on your home page, we can go back over to our left navigation the same way that we started. Type in report, and if we hit this view run, we have the ability to view all of the reports that we may have created during our time in ServiceNow. We see the first one we created, we see the second one. In this case, we hit Cone Health to get back to our home page because we want to put it there. And to do so, it's a couple clicks. Add content. We know that we created a report. It shows all of the reports that are available. It defaults to recent ones that we've created. Here's those two. In this case, we want to add Jonathan's latest report. We select it, choose where we want to hide it. We hit add here, and immediately it becomes available on our home screen. And that's it. The report will be available to you every time you go into your home page. If this is your standard home page, and you don't have to worry about making any adjustments. The data will update itself by itself, will update itself as you continue to go on, and as you make tweaks to it, all you have to do is go back into that report that you created, same way that you did before by clicking on View Run, go into that report, and you can change that query as you need. That's it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out, or if there's any other more advanced reporting that you want to do, I look forward to assisting you with that. Thanks.